10, 11, 12. Oh, they're like
okay, you guys, your phone's on. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the imho show. I'm Lou. We're going to start here in just a minute. Okay. You guys come a little closer this way. There we go. All right.
Does Deb have some headphones or?
Where's another? I'll get her set.
We're just gonna make this one real big and put one on his side of the head.
There's a set over there.
One on my side. We'll just sit
Okay,
like this
you
all
wear
night.
these and I'll wait for you to set.
Forgot the wire.
Ooh.
But these are much more comfortable.
Can I hear you?
These are much more comfortable than yours.
Yeah.
I like these. They're comfortable for me. Oh, you're supposed to be over this way. Who's not hooked in?
All right. Good evening, everybody. Sorry about the long intro there. This is Lou Angelwolf, and welcome to the imho.love show. IMHO is, in my humble opinion, and that's really all this whole thing is. That's every radio show you talk to somehow is an amalgamated opinion of bits and facts and pieces, and these are ours. We try to be, fair, neutral, or whatever. I don't know, or opinionated, whatever. And Vaughn is our board app tonight, and he's going to hook us up so we have a live feed right to the Facebook there. I forgot that little wire. And anyway, folks, we got a great show lined up for you tonight. Of course, my co-host here every week, Michael Murburg.
Hey Lou, it's nice to be back.
Good to see you, buddy. We had a very successful CE5, a Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, meeting last weekend, and we'll share something about that. But the portion of the show that I've been promoting all week is my old friend. And I say old in pencil. These are people that I've known for a very, very long time. From, I think, junior high forward. This is Dave Wiley and Debbie. I remember you as Debbie Schwartz.
That's fine.
Debbie Schwartz. And you can come in the front over here if you need to. There's this guy right here. All right, a little technical. Sorry about that. I hate to always break up an intro, but there we go. Is that on? Is it working?
Not for me.
Okay, you're not on yet? I'm not on yet. Am I on? Yeah, I'm on. All right, very good.
Oh, now I can hear you.
Hey, there we go. You got sound? We got a place for this? Other than no. Well, yeah. You got one in the back? You got a jack in the back, Jack? All right. Folks, this is organic radio. There you go. How about now? You got any sound?
Yeah, but I think it's a Cuban station.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, my buddy David Wiley and Debbie Schwartz. And, one of the things we talk about on the show is, just kind of daydreamy things. And you guys did a real daydreamy thing that a lot of people want to do. They talk about it, they never get to do it. But you guys actually put the wheels on the ground and took a tour of America in your hippie van.
Well, that's true. We had this bucket list of things we wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
And one of them was do Route 66. We've been talking about it.
Sure.
And one day we run across this old van for sale.
Right.
And we looked at it and we go, we could probably do it in this. And that was kind of like, okay, well, if we get this van, then we actually got to do this thing. And so we talked about it. So we made him an offer and we brought it home and it was in pretty good shape. So we gutted it. We kind of had an idea we wanted to do. And we built a big queen size bed in the back. And then
yeah, because you're a good sized fella. You're about 6'6", aren't you?
6'4".
6'4"?
So
you seem taller.
I had to have a good sized bed.
Yeah.
And
of course, Debbie could sleep in the glove box.
Right, the front seat, right. So we custom made a bed that we could slide in and turn it into a couch we weren't using.
Now this is a early 2000 Dodge high top conversion.
Right.
Okay.
Right. We bought it from a really cool couple.
Yeah.
The guy was actually in World War II, and his lady friend.
Sure.
She was probably served coffee in World War II.
You don't want to marry away those benefits.
Exactly. And they had it. I think they took it on 2 trips, and they said we can't get in and out of it with our walkers and stuff. So anyway, we made them an offer, and we picked it up. So we get it home, and we gut it out, and we start building this plywood platforms that will slide into each other and
Yeah, some engineering.
Right. But then we got to find a mattress for it, so we start hitting all the thrift stores, and we finally get this brainstorm. Hey, don't they make these couches that fold into beds? Right?
Sure, yeah.
Gee, what about one of those mattresses? So we scored one of those,
Nice.
and we put that in there, and that solved our bed situation.
So you got a somewhat outfitted hippie van,
Right.
and now when did you start this odyssey? How long were you guys were gone for a long time because I tracked you on Facebook.
Yeah, 3 months.
3 months?
Pretty much 3 months.
Okay.
And we left at the very end of August.
Okay.
And we had the van. We put a big, huge peace sign on the front of the hood and stickers all over it. It certainly looked like a hippie van. And grew our hair, and I grew a little Fu Manchu.
Yeah, you were groovy looking, dude.
Yeah. We got some, put all kinds of stuff on it that you would have saw back in the 70s and 60s.
Yeah, kind of somewhat retro.
Right. So,
but we want something with good air conditioning.
Right, exactly. That's why we didn't go to the Volkswagen.
It's something that gets 20 miles to the gallon, not 6.
We looked at the Volkswagens. I get in there, I go, this isn't gonna work.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, people love those things, and I think they're cool too. But they are totally an around town kind of thing, unless you're just that special kind of torturous person, where you want to ride around with 40 to 60 horsepower pushing you around the country with no air conditioning, no safety whatsoever.
You're describing my first car, you know.
What'd you have?
I was a Volkswagen camper bus.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I wish I had it now. I mean, we're like $50,000.
They're trading for a lot of money
if
the body's held on.
Yeah, it was all good, but, just couldn't keep it.
I can't imagine the Murburg in a VW van. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I can.
It was great. They had the couch that folded up and folded down into kind of a double bed in the back, and it was well engineered. Once again, you got to be a minimalist to use it.
Shaft, can you dig it? Right out.
We did see a couple up in Washington State that had one of the old camper vans. It was in good shape, and they just rented it.
Actually,
Oh,
really?
They never really went camping.
Uh-huh.
They just happened to be coming out to Washington State for some airplane conference. They're both presidents of like the women's airplane pilots, and he's the president of the men's pilots, or whatever. And they were coming out here. They decided to go camping. Never been camping in their lives.
Really?
And they rented a VW camper van, but they were both like about my size.
Right.
About 5'4".
And they never went camping again.
They probably didn't. They probably didn't, because the campground that they were at had paid showers, and they were having to keep sticking quarters in.
Well.
So it was like, so I said, so how much did your shower cost? Oh, $225.
Nice. You really lathered up. Well, let me just do a little identification. We had such a ragged opening there, and I apologize for that, folks. This is the imho.love show. Lou Angelwolf, Michael Murburg. We're here every Wednesday night at 7:30. Our special guests this week are Dave and Debbie, who just finished a tour a little while ago. They did the whole Route 66 thing, and we're going to be covering that. Just want you to know you can listen to this show on tantalk1340.com. It's on the YouTube over there. We're also doing Facebook Live on my page there, Lou Angelwolf. Sorry I don't have the keyboard in front of me, so I really can't respond to everybody. But thanks, everybody who's watching and listening. We're on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. If you want the YouTube feed, which is actually very clean, that is on the tantalk1340.com website, and you can watch the show on that as well. As far as terrestrial radio, if you're just imagining what we look like, you can listen to it on 1340 AM here in the Tampa Bay area, 1350 a little further out, 1400 out in Dade City, and of course the FM giant 106.1 FM, The Heat. So there you go, folks, and thank you so much for participating in our reindeer games. It's the 9th day of January in the year 2019, and we are officially documenting this show with ones and zeros. So, all right, you got the van all fixed up, and to get from Florida, where we are, you had to drive to the beginning of Route 66, right?
That's correct. But
So-
we also had to get permission from our probation officers to leave.
That's
Right? Your probation.
Did you have to wear the ankle bracelet while you're driving?
Well, good
Special
reception
ones.
is very important when you have ankle monitoring. You're going to go outside your circle.
Oh, okay.
So
You had to call the people.
exactly,
I
the
get
people,
you.
the people.
And just to give you a little background, Michael over here is a defense attorney, and Dave was Citrus County Sheriff for 30 years? 20?
10 years in Pinellas and 21 in Citrus.
So 31 years you were a mighty sheriff. And Debbie, you worked at the sheriff's office too, right?
For a couple of years.
Yeah? Okay. So I feel very safe tonight.
Well, I was a prosecutor too, almost 5 years.
Prosecuted.
Yeah, I had a gun on the bench.
Did you really?
Yeah, hard to believe, but it's true.
VW van, gun, and a badge.
Yeah,
Murbs, I find out more about you every day.
that's quite a panoply of experience.
Funny. Okay, so the Route 66 thing, okay? You get up to, it starts somewhere in Illinois, right?
It starts in Chicago, but
Okay.
we get up to the Chicago area, and you know the traffic's really bad, terrible.
Chicago?
Yeah,
Of the
terrible.
worst in the world,
And you can't even get near the beginning of it in this big old van.
right?
So we go to Rockford because I have some relatives in Rockford,
I love Rockford.
and well, there's a big drag strip there. Rockford,
There is.
Rockford. So
Rockford Raceway.
So anyway, we leave from Rockford. I visit some relatives, and we pick up Route 66 from there. And in Illinois has done a great job on Route 66.
Yeah.
They have really kept it alive.
Mm-hmm.
All the little towns it runs through are very vibrant, and they have a lot of Route 66 paraphernalia and restaurants and things to stop at. And they've turned some of it into there's several versions of Route 66 too. There's like the pre-1930. Then there's from the 30.
With the original pavement?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
Yes. And they've turned some of that into a walkway. They call it the Route 66 sidewalk.
Sidewalk.
Okay, where's that at?
Because it's one lane.
It's 9 feet wide.
Bicycle path.
Yeah, basically, yeah, it's one lane. And then they have the Route 66 roads that were from that point to like the 1960s.
Uh-huh.
And then from up to when they closed it down. So there's in many sections of it. There's three. Take your pick between three of them to go on.
Really?
Before you get out of Rockford, you know, I've been to where Route 66 begins in Chicago,
Uh-huh.
and it starts right in front of the Chicago Art Museum.
Okay.
And you know, the one thing I noticed there, actually, my son did, was like, he looks up at the art museum. I said, "Hey, this is where Route 66 begins," and he's not impressed. And he looks up and he goes, "Yeah, but why do they have the names of the 4 Ninja Turtles up over the art museum?" So it's a wonderful beginning to a journey. And I've been at the end, but we won't spoil the trip.
Yeah.
Definitely a generational thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I got people calling me that don't know I have a radio show going on. Oh, you just can't tell everybody, man.
It's nice music, though.
It's my lovely ringtone. But
we turned.
uh-huh.
Before the interstate system had evolved, it was a series of state and county roads that everybody used to drive on.
Okay.
And Route 66 was a series of state and county roads that took you out to California
Okay.
from basically the heartland area. And it was a very popular road because it had enough
Thank you.
hotels and gas stations. And this was a big deal back in the
Sure.
30s, 40s, and 50s, be able to go somewhere, not run out
Sure.
of gas. So they had this Route 66 down. Every place you stopped and ate, they might give you a map. Remember you used to get the placemats with your food, had a little map on it?
Sure. Love
Yeah,
those.
exactly. All right. So a lot of those would have Route 66. I think you kind of knew where you were going. In fact, if you had watched that movie RV, remember
Yeah.
RV?
Yeah.
I had a little piece of Route 66 on
The
it.
postman always rings
Sure.
twice, I think, too.
Yeah. And at cartoon Cars,
Yeah.
the whole thing was based on Route 66.
That's true. It really was, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So, but it was a way to get out to California. You know, it was a very historical route, and there's lots of memorabilia on it. And after the interstate system came to play, they started phasing out that road because President Eisenhower had started to build this interstate system. And
Yeah.
those little towns started to dry up.
Yeah, because the interstate went behind them or around them or,
Exactly.
yeah.
Some of the little towns moved over towards, every time they realigned it around their city, they would like.
They
move
still
their
do that.
downtown.
Yeah,
They
did.
still do that,
They
yeah.
absolutely
Yeah,
did.
Dunedin did it.
Yeah.
You're right, they did.
Yeah, don't even move closer to big roads, you know. Well, you know, and that's an interesting thing too, because like I'm watching right now, the show broadcasts out of Clearwater, Florida, and the main drag through the Pinellas County is a road called US 19. At times in history, one of the more treacherous high traffic roads available, and it's amazing. For many years, everybody flocked to US 19 with their business. Okay, and now they're putting overpasses in. Now everybody's running away from US 19,
Right.
because I don't care. You know, I mean, you can internet shop, you can do a lot of stuff, but a lot of people buy a lot of different products because they can drive up to the place and get in and look at it. Especially cars, large ticket items. You know, if you can't get to the Best Buy, if it's hard to get to the Best Buy, you know, it's frustrating, especially the car dealers. I feel bad for them, and fruit stands. So, yeah, you can't sell fruit when people are going by at 73 miles an hour. Dude! Anyway, so now that, and what's happening there is it's been like a tide. It rolled in towards 19, and now it's rolling back out away from 19, and it's repopulating all the support roads that lead to US 19.
Right.
So interesting things. So that was happening on like a national basis
With Route
66.
Yes, it did.
Huh, that's really something.
In Pontiac, Illinois, has really capitalized on this. They've done a really good job. There's several museums there. They have old cars kind of strategically placed all over the town.
Nice.
They have Route 66 painted on some of the old brick buildings for you to have your picture taken next to.
Sure.
And in fact, that's one of the towns we boondocked at. We stayed in a campground called Walmart. And
Camping with Wally.
Camping at Walmart. And the great thing about camping at Walmart is it's open 24 hours and there's a deli,
Yes.
right?
Sure.
Campgrounds don't have delis, but Walmart does.
Yeah.
And their bathrooms are open. They encourage it. And
Well, you can go and buy supplies.
exactly.
Yeah.
And there's interesting people in the parking lot.
Oh, well, they make those movies somewhere,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know.
So
Have GoPro, have laughs.
So after Pontiac, we get on our happy Route 66 route, and we're just following our little map. And my advice to anybody that's going to do this is to buy the paper version, because I got news for you: your phone does not have connectivity everywhere.
Still today.
Exactly. Yeah.
Are you telling me that Sprint is lying to me about their coverage?
Well, I got even worse than that. I got the Virgin Mobile. So.
Oh, Virgin Mobile. That's like hippie phone.
Thank you.
The hippie phone.
The hippie phone.
Still waiting to make a connection, I guess.
Yeah.
Very funny.
The wheel of death spins forever on Virgin Mobile.
Yes, that's funny. Okay, so you're heading out, and you're going to drive it end to end, right?
Yes,
Okay.
we are.
Now, what were now it's just you two in the van, and did you play any like road games or tag license plate games or anything like that?
With shots of liquor or?
Well, I don't want to give away any secrets.
All right. Well, basically no. Well, what we did is we just kind of looked ahead. We really didn't have a plan. We just.
I love that.
Yeah, there was no plan. If we saw something, we just stayed there, and if we really didn't care because we had plenty of time.
Right.
We were both retired.
Yeah, that's
So-
nice.
So we got to St. Louis, Missouri, and we had some friends there. Now this was planned, and our friends let us stay in their really nice
Driveway.
condo. No, it was an old.
No,
It was
that easy.
Was it a hat factory?
A printing
Factory. Old
factory.
brick building. They converted into condos. Really nice
Right
place.
downtown.
Wow.
Right downtown. Went to the Arch.
Yeah.
We both discovered we're really scared of
Did
heights.
you go up into the
Oh
arch?
yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah.
did.
It was death defying. Yeah.
Really?
It wiggles. We
Yeah,
got
I
that
know.
one, yeah.
It was like a roller coaster,
Yeah.
and then you can feel the whole thing waving in the wind, and it's like
Man,
You ever been in it?
You
No.
Oh, you get in a little pod that you can barely fit in, and you got to get really small to get in this pod.
I love
And
getting
it
small.
takes you way up there, click, 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 all the way to the top where you finally emerge and you get out. And this whole arch is wiggling back and forth. Like, we can't get back in the pod fast enough to get back down.
You saw it. Oh, you're good enough.
Yeah,
That was it.
been there, got t-shirt, let's go.
I was in St. Louis a couple times in my comedy career, and I drove to it. I looked up at it. I didn't have time to do it or whatever, or didn't. But not worth the trip, huh?
Wise move, my friend. Just walk there.
Yeah, we'll do that again.
Yeah.
Listen to that, a little piece of wisdom. Stay off the St. Louis Arch.
Unless you got a lot of Xanax, don't go up there.
Well, that could be. No,
So,
I don't like pills.
so at any rate, so we do the arch, and we go to this place called Ted Drew's Custard.
Ted Drew's custard.
Yeah, it's frozen custard.
Oh,
And it's like a Route 66 icon thing.
yeah.
And so we hit that place, and we try to hit some of these iconic places on Route 66.
Has that like been around a long, long time?
Yeah, yeah. If you ever look at any of the books, they're going to talk about Ted Drew's custard. So we go there, we get this Ted Drew custard. First off, it doesn't look like custard to me. What did it look like?
No, it looked like ice cream.
Yeah, it looked like it with Dairy Queen.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's really good.
Well, they just have different names.
It was good, but you know,
They should call it the right thing.
exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So
Well, that's what Culver's does. Culver's has custard, and looks like ice cream to me.
Yeah.
You know, boy, you been to Culver's? Been to the Culver's?
No,
Yes, I have.
I thought it was a chicken place.
Well, they got burgers, and they have big loaded ass burgers, and they put a big pat of butter on the burger while they cook it. So it's this big, fat, buttery burger, and they're delicious. But you do need, defibrillation paddles nearby.
You know, Culver's is their market is for people who are too embarrassed to bring their dates to Burger King, and it's too late for breakfast at McDonald's.
I like the joke, but I think the roles are reversed. Culver's is like the fancy place.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least it's clean. Nice and
It
clean.
is. It's clean.
You know, it,
They're from Wisconsin,
And they got servers.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And they actually, there's people there that care if you get your food. Unlike Burger King.
Yes. It's like, how many ways you going to screw up my order?
Oh,
Let's see. Yeah, it was just a Whopper. Okay.
yeah.
I don't get the chicken this time.
It's fun. There's something funny. I had a little story about Burger King. Every time I think of Burger King, I think of this story. I got a friend of a friend. No, he's a friend of mine too. This guy's such a cheapskate, man. This guy really, he's a coupon clipper.
Oops.
Really, I mean, nickels and dimes. Okay, and he looks up on the menu at Burger King and he sees that the chicken sandwich is $4.49, but the chicken nugget, chicken pieces or whatever they call them, you can get 10 of them for $1.49. Okay, so he goes, brings his own bread, orders the 10-piece nugget thing, and sits there in the dining room, pulls his bread out of his pocket like Art Carney, and just whips up this sandwich. I'm telling you, man.
It does the whole.
Best sandwich he ever had.
Oh, it was so funny, man.
Oh, wow.
It was sad the day it happened, but the repeat of the story is hilarious. So anyway, so you're adventuring. You've had some nice custard at the treacherous St. Louis Arch, and now you're heading in kind of like a southwesterly tilt at this point,
right.
right?
Well, before we left St. Louis, we had to go see this bridge called the what's that
Chain of
called?
rocks.
Chain of Rocks. It's like this crooked bridge.
It's
I
in
guess
some
it's
movies or
famous now.
something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we drive out to the Chain of
The
Rocks.
chain of rocks.
Yeah, and it's closed, but we don't know it's closed, right? So we drive up to it, and just we're kind of looking at it.
Sorry, kids. Wally World is closed.
Well, it gets better than that. There's this homeless-looking guy, and he's hitchhiking, and he's got all his possessions with him. Now, remember, we're in this hippie van, so
Right.
he thinks, hey, look, these guys are going to pick us up.
Sure.
They're probably, I'm going to have a beer, probably going to get high with them. I don't know.
The
you know?
retired sheriff's going to
Right,
give me a ride.
exactly, Exactly. So we stop, but we're not looking at him. We're looking at the bridge, right? So we're like, well, we can't get on the bridge. So we start to drive off. I look in the mirror, and this guy's running like crazy towards the van, thinking we stopped to pick him up. Right? He's got all his stuff. He's running like crazy. And I look back and go, Deb, I think that guy thought we were going to give him a ride. And he's chasing the van,
Yeah. making fun of bums. It's a
Yeah.
bad karma thing to do.
So,
So.
we couldn't get on the bridge, so we turned around and we said, okay, and Deb's looked at the map and she says,
Give the bum a ride.
yeah, and she says, let's go to this cavern thing where Jesse James used to hide out.
Oh.
So, you can tell
The
us about
Merrimack
that.
Caverns, Merrimack Caverns, God, I think it's called Stanton, Missouri. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But it was open back in the Civil War. The Union Army used to make gunpowder down in the cavern.
Oh, really?
And then later on, Jesse James and Frank James and the whole crew
James
get
Gang.
out there for all the James Gang. Yeah, not to be confused with James. What's that band?
James Gang.
The James Gang. Oh yeah.
Hot pants.
But it became a tourist attraction like in the 30s. They realized they could make money by taking people down. They used to have parties down there, and they used to play. They used to have bands down there and have parties and
Really?
it was a ball.
And this is all on Route 66
It is.
as
Yeah.
you continue
Yeah.
on and on
Yeah.
and on. Wow.
And they've got different rooms. The best one I thought was the one called the Wine Room, which you think is WINE. But it is 58 steps to get up to it. So it's the wine room.
I'm blasting my quads.
But it was gorgeous. It really was. It was gorgeous.
Nice.
And, we kind of went into a little town called Layton.
Layton,
Yeah, Layton,
Missouri?
Missouri, I guess, yeah.
Missouri.
And you know how they always say it's 3 degrees of separation on everybody in the world. You ever heard of that saying?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So
I've hoped many times it wasn't true.
So
Kind of wished for 6, but that's okay.
you got to figure we look kind of suspicious in his van,
Uh-huh.
And there's this cop sitting there on the side of the road, and he's by this old bridge that was part of Route 66, and we want to get out and look at the bridge.
Yeah.
But we're thinking, well, first off, he's probably going to think we're terrorists, or we're setting charges on the bridge or something. So let's go over and talk to him for a minute. So we walked over, and I gave him a card, and I said, hi, I'm retired, yada, yada, yada. He goes, really? I am too. I'm in a little place called Gulfport Police Department in Pinellas County.
Oh my
I go,
gosh.
give me a break.
You're 7 states away, and there he is, the Gulfport dude.
So I'm
Nice.
like, what are you doing here? He says, same story. Ex-wife, divorce, child support. Here I am.
Darting around traffic.
Exactly.
Well, folks, this is the imho.love show. In the studio with us, it's Dave Wiley and Debbie Schwartz, retelling their travelogue of Route 66. We're a couple states away from the beginning, and when we come back from our break, we'll go into the second half here. Michael, we had a really great CE5 last weekend out there at the Darby Ranch. And for those of you listening for the first time, the CE5 is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, which is human-initiated extraterrestrial response. What we do is we gather a group of peaceful souls, and we say some meditations and some prayers, and we hold hands and send up a loving energy. And a lot of times our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters up there, they respond to it with various ways of doing it. And when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about the experiences we had there. And this CE5 community is really, really growing. And I want to say hello to all of our CE5 listening groups out there. We have like 70 of them across the world. And we're just absolutely honored that people are dialing the show in and enjoying it. Now, folks, if you're watching on Facebook, I think are they going to get the studio feed from that? Okay. All right. So sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not.
I believe they have sound.
Okay. All right. Very good. And that's Vaughn, our board op over there. He's, the show's gone through some changes with production people. Are you here for a while now?
I've been here since March, but I've been working, weekdays and things.
Okay, yeah, because this is our second time with you, and it's nice. See, you got a grip on it, brother, so to speak. All right, this is the imho.love show. I'm Lou Angelwolf, and we'll be back in about 6 minutes.
WTAN, Clearwater,
FM 106.1,
WDCF, Dade City, Tampa Bay, WZHR, Zephyr Hills.
FM 104.3.
Listen.
President Trump tries to make his case for funding a wall at the southern border at the site in Texas tomorrow. Trump walked out at today's meeting with congressional leaders after Democrats again refused to fund the wall as a partial government
those
shutdown
cans
is
are
at day 19. Vice President Mike Pence defended the president's action.
This president, Republicans in the House and the Senate are going to
until we get the
What does that do, beep
resources
for the entire
and
6
the
minutes?
reforms
Well, I
and
know,
support
it'll be
to
open.
end
Yeah,
the humanitarian
obnoxious.
crisis on our southern border, to end the security
Just
crisis on our
Stops
southern
you
border.
there.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer characterized Trump's behavior another way.
Again, we saw a temper tantrum.
I actually like Nebraska and
Couldn't get his
State
way,
Route
and he just
66.
walked out of
We
the
didn't
game.
actually
Political
go up
reports
there,
Trump
we didn't
is
really
bringing
have,
a top White
we
House
didn't have
lawyer
that
to
much
Mexican
time,
border
but
tomorrow,
that's a
signing
plan
may be
for
weighing
another
a
trip.
national
Coming
emergency
up next fall.
declaration to secure
And
border wall
did you get
funds.
to the end in
Police in
California?
Phoenix
Yeah,
are trying
but
to find out
Nebraska,
who
I don't have
sexually
Nebraska
assaulted a woman
anywhere
in
on
a
Route
vegetative
66.
state
Yeah.
who gave birth
Yeah,
inside
no,
a
we
long-term
we
care
started out
facility.
just being
Phoenix
on
Police Sergeant Tommy Thomas,
66.
police have
Yeah,
And then once
we
we got to Santa Monica, we
DNA
headed
samples
north
from
and
every
up
member
into
of the
Because next we hit Kansas for just a little piece of it, then we're to Oklahoma.
Unnoticed or unreported
but I don't
until
think
the
any
child
is,
was born and in
there's any
distress,
through
causing
66.
staff to call 911. While not confirmed by law enforcement,
Kind of wondering what was more in
29-year-old
part.
Native American and the baby, a boy. I'm Jim Root.
It was boring.
China's Commerce Secretary said that trade talks with
Well,
the U.S. this week were
Texas
extensive
did pretty
and
well.
entailed establishing a foundation for
Texas.
the resolution of each
They
other's
tried for a
concerns.
couple days.
The ministry said that both sides agreed
There's
to
a lot of
maintain
cool
close contact.
I-
Stocks were
you know, it
higher
just
at the
depends
close
what
on
you-
Wall Street. The
what
Dow
you're
added
interested in. Like,
92
we
points,
went
the
to a lot of
S&P up
ghost
by 11,
towns.
the Nasdaq closed
And we went out of our
60
way to
points
go to a couple of ghost
From
towns. And if you like that old
Hey guys,
architecture
good
and
news. The
those ruins
outrageously
and
expensive
buildings, it's
little
pretty
blue
cool.
pill
And
is now generic, which means you
and,
can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices.
we ran into some
And
really
Hims makes
interesting
it extra affordable.
two sets of
Now,
twins
get your
on two
first
different
month supply for
occasions.
free. All you pay is just
266.
$5 for your medical consultation when you go to 4hims.com/ship.
and those,
After
and
that,
one of
it's
them
just
had the
$30
birthday,
for a
same
month's supply.
birthday
Sure
as
beats
someone
paying
else
big
that was
bucks
staying
for
at
just
our
one
hotel,
blue
exactly
pill.
the same
Doesn't
day.
it? Plus, you won't
Here,
need an
everything.
awkward in-person doctor's appointment to get the prescription.
I'll share some.
Hims has doctors online who can prescribe the
Oh,
medication,
thank you.
and the pharmacy sends it right
Gotta
to
be
your
careful
door.
around the
It's affordable,
electronics.
private,
Yes.
and incredibly
Where it all
easy.
began.
Nobody likes dealing with ED. Now, thanks to Hims, nobody has to. And
Yes,
that's
Lilith,
really
that's
good news.
dangerous.
To
You
get
don't
your
know me
first
very
order
well.
for just $5, you can
Seattle.
go to this exclusive
Okay, it's a coffee
address.
cup.
I think it is. I watched it out. It was out
That's
there.
4hims.com/ship for your first month for just $5. 4hims.com/ship.
See website for full details and services through the Hims platform or
Hi, Facebook. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Problem has
So they're
turned
still watching?
Yeah, sure. Tag in there.
We need to hit a home run.
There's Eric Torrey on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. Hey, everybody. And, cool. So we got 3 people watching live on the Facebook. And we're coming back here in just a couple minutes. I gotta figure out what to do with this commercial break thing. I was just talking to the guy. I'm talking to Vaughn. I'm thinking about doing the next shows. No break. Just start and just, you buy the time. If they'll make the cut. If they'll cut the show differently. Because what happens is when you get that mid-break and there's nothing for the people to listen to, you tune in and they go,
Yeah, they leave.
yeah.
So, what, when we sing or dance or something?
Yeah, what I was, the other board off had, he was playing a clip of my comedy
I've had a lot of shows
on the
Tan
break.
Talk over the years.
So,
Our latest
you know,
adventure is
so,
imho.
I don't know. It's
My
just,
humble
it's
opinion,
this level
it's about
of
humor
stuff.
and aha moments.
It's
And
good.
Of course, we share
Better
every week with
than
our
a lot
teacher
of,
into the exoconsciousness
some guy
of Michael
sitting in his,
Murburg. Yes, here you'll learn a
you know,
little bit about the
bedroom
Tao
with
and
a
how the best lives
mushroom
live simply and with
smoking
patience
caterpillar
and compassion. And we're
behind him.
waiting for you
I could
to
tell,
listen in with us on
bedtime
Wednesday
stories
nights
and
at
homicides.
7:30 here on Tan Talk.
That's what we're gonna go into too. We're gonna go, Michael and I are gonna talk about the CE5 a little bit up front. And then we're gonna, what we'll do is we'll cover a couple minutes of some of the mysterious things that you covered, and then we'll finish up the trip. Okay. Sound good?
This is the only
I love it
talk
when things
show
have a flow.
that talks about everyone who makes up our workforce. Join me on the
It's kind of like testifying without having their deposition. You never know what they're gonna ask you.
Well, I'm just trying to,
Trial by ambush.
just trying to steal the, just trying to steer it.
Kind of like the federal system.
Interviews, product reviews, local tournaments, and everything golf talk. The Golf Show, guys.
Hey, join the Golf Show, guys, every Wednesday
The
morning
Golf
from
Show,
9
yeah.
a.m. to 10 a.m. It's not just funny.
Mention
it's
our show,
informative,
you get
it's
10% off
celebrities,
cleats.
and it's a lot of applause. It's the Golf Show, guys, Wednesday mornings from 9 to 10 a.m. right here on the the Tan Talk Radio Network.
So is this a chance for you to go to the bathroom or something? Is this just a chance for you to go to the bathroom or something?
Well, they have a mandatory station break at the top, and then they have news break, and then they play some ads.
Oh, okay. So that's what this has been.
Yeah, this is 6 minutes of.
I would have been listening to all of this if I had these on.
Yes, you would have heard it all.
January 17th.
You know, if Papa John's would send over a pizza, the whole time you have pizza and you talk about how good it is, and you get free pizza at the same time.
You could. This happens.
And don't get Little Caesars.
You can expand upon that to a liquor store.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the imho.love show. In my humble opinion, I'm Lou Angelwolf. Michael Murburg is here as well. And our special guests, Dave and Debbie, who are sharing their travelogue of their trips of Route 66. And, last weekend out there at Area 52, that's what we call it. There's Area 51, and Michael lives in Darby.
We've been there.
Oh,
52.
oh, you've been there.
We've been Area 51 and Roswell.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, this is in Pasco County, so it's special.
Which is even stranger than Roswell.
Roswell's explanatory.
Yeah.
Pasco County's not.
Yeah.
But
And we've had more ET craft out in Darby than they have had in Roswell. I can say that for a fact.
Roswell's a hot spot. It's a no-fly zone, I think.
It was a hot spot in 47. I mean,
Yeah.
my mom had a hot spot in 47.
Oh, you know.
But let's face it, it's not the same neighborhood.
And what we mean by Area 52 is it's the actual geographic location of Michael's Ranch, where we have these CE5 meetings. And we've had as many as, 40-some people out there at one time?
Yeah, we had moved on up a couple months ago. That was actually one of the few months where we didn't have any activity, at least as far as I was concerned. But
right.
Other than that, we've had photographable and very visible activity as a consequence of doing CE5. This past weekend was really rather remarkable. Not remarkable, but we're coming to expect it. This week we had a working weekend where I had my core group up to do the work, and you joined us afterwards.
That was amazing. I have this impeccable ability of showing up for dinner after the work's done.
And you missed the barbecue, but you got the chicken, so you did okay. But what I do is I can't, I get behind and I can't keep up, so I'd ask my core group to come on out and help me. And Lou is a member of the core group, and he just couldn't make it up. But we have wonderful experiences together. The core group came up and they helped me, cut trees and clean up, and it was just absolutely wonderful. The amount of ground they covered.
Grind the meal, break the bread.
Right. But what happens though is even before we go outside to do our meditations, we have crafts show up, and it's not unusual for that to happen with my core group when we meet. Mm-hmm. And this weekend was fit the same mold. Before the other half of the group got out there after we had dinner, we had a craft show up with a few of the members out there, and they signaled to it and signaled back and talked to it and got visible replies from the ship.
Yep.
And I call it a ship because it didn't come as an orb. And I've gotten to the point where if you see orbs traveling, if you see that's an orb. It could be a ship in flight where they light up and they stay lit, and it could be mistaken for an orb. So it's very difficult to tell. But when they're out there, and then you get a flash bulb, and then all of a sudden you either say thank you and signal them, signal them with your laser, or with just talking to them, and get the reply conversations back. That's it's become pretty standard. So
it is cool, man.
So the first
you're talking to flashing lights in the sky, and they're like responding to you,
and they're within a mile or two.
Yeah,
so they're not far off. And so that happened at the beginning of the evening. During the evening, there was a meteor shower, and that was that was visible. But we had a couple ships fly one way at high speed and then another. It wasn't a real eventful evening after the initial communication at around 8 o'clock. But then at the end of the evening, about midnight, we had another ship show up.
Yep.
And then we had probably a 10 or a 12-minute ongoing communication with it. And without shining the lasers, we just talked to it, and then it would, flash back to us every time when we said thank you, or we love you, and I think we're getting ready to have more in-depth conversations with the ships. And they show up as a consequence of well, this one I'm sure later on in the evening showed up as a consequence of the meditations. These entities at a very high level are on the same wavelength that we are, where it's an exoconsciousness connection, biocentric exoconsciousness, where the basis of all that consciousness is in fact love. And as corny as it seems, love equals consciousness, and these beings understand that. We understand that. It's kind of the auspices that we live under, and and we go on.
It's the purest form of vibration. It's the purest form of energy, and it actually, I'm convinced it is the life force.
Yeah, it is. And matter of fact, I was listening to a lecture by Evan Alexander, and Evan Alexander was a physician. He's a professor of neurosurgery at Harvard. He died and was in a coma for a week, and he ended up writing a book called Proof of Heaven about his near-death experience, and he described it as being more real than his living consciousness in life. And matter of fact, he's interviewed by a guy by the name of Jeffrey Mishlove, who, if you're not familiar with Jeffrey, he's got a smile that is constantly pasted on his face. I mean, if he were to be stopped by a police officer, they would ask him, "Sir, would you please turn off your smile? It's a little too bright. I am forced to wear glasses." But both of them were talking, and Alexander's conclusions, among other things, and you'll like this one, is that comedy itself is a higher form of consciousness.
Comedy itself?
Comedy itself, because you have to reach for something that isn't there, and then you create a collective consciousness. When people laugh, and you lighten their load.
It's time to remarket the show.
Time to remarket the show. But he came up with a lot of interesting things. I'll send you the lecture, but he talked about psychogenic experiences and body function with DMT, ayahuasca, psilocybin, and what he calls them now, instead of hallucinogenic drugs, he calls them theogenic medicines.
Theogenic medicine.
Theogenic medicines.
I like that better.
Yeah, because
doesn't even sound like you're getting in trouble.
No, and hopefully, especially with the work they've done on psilocybin at Johns Hopkins, they'll, for therapeutic reasons, we'll see more of it someday.
It's amazing when you take the understood restraints that our society has put on all these things, and they've been throwing taboos at this stuff for forever, and a lot of people that don't study it at all, this fear is built into these words. I understand too, because I'm a little wary of it. I don't know, but there's such great real science and real medicine coming out of this stuff. You're going, hey, they were just pulling the wool over our eyes.
Yeah, well, they're based in a materialist world, and trying to explain consciousness as a brain function is absolutely useless. And Alexander's conclusion is consciousness primary, and everything else is secondary to it. And in fact, we are connected. We won't go into the physiological reasons for iron and oxygen and the trees being the other part of our breathing process. But Alexander comes up with a conclusion as well that Earth is at a tipping point, and because we are souls striving for higher levels of heightened spirituality, that is the journey of intelligence and consciousness all along. But we need to keep the Earth or make it a better place, because, as I've always said, if we're coming back again, if we do get reborn, then the purpose for Earth is for the birth of human beings, so that with each human being there is a birth of soul, and that's also consistent with a lot of Mormon thought. But if we're going to keep on coming back, why do we keep on pissing in our wells?
That's true. I got you. I understand completely. Wisdom comes slow sometimes, and the exoconsciousness is a byproduct or an accompanying mindset with the CE5 stuff. The exoconsciousness is us reaching out for something further than what we already know, and it communicating back with us. Now, and this is, this show kind of deals with some odd things. You know, we've had Matt Anthony on talking about a flat Earth, and we've had a lot of different opinions. And that's the name of the show, is IMHO, in my humble opinion. And you know, it's a this whole thing is a mindset. Now, Dave, when you were with the Sheriff's Division for many years, you got to handle some unusual cases. You were kind of the go-to guy when they go, hey, Wiley, we don't know quite how to figure this out. Why don't you take a look at it?
Well, let me start out with an event that happened in 1988 here in Pinellas County.
Okay.
And I was just in the patrol division, and I was training recruits at the time.
Okay.
And we're on the midnight shift. And we're in Palm Harbor, going up Alton and 19 around, I don't know, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Not past the old Swampwater Owls. I don't know if you remember that place or not.
Sure.
And we get to the bridge that went over that old railroad track by what they used to call the old schoolhouse restaurant.
Yes.
By the wastewater plant. And
that big sweeper.
Right. And I'm in the passenger seat because the recruit usually drives. And that way they can learn how to talk on the radio and drive and chew gum at the same time, which gives you a great opportunity to scan and see what's going on. So we hit that bridge, and as we get to the top of the bridge, I plainly see a person standing in the road, except the person is kind of like in a black and white instead of color. And then the person jumps off the bridge.
Oh!
And I said to my recruit, I go, stop, call us in on the radio. We just had somebody jump off the bridge. I said, did you see that? And he says, well, no, I didn't see anything. Well, I thought to myself, first off, that's why I'm doing this, because you guys don't see nothing. And just call it in and let's see what we got down here. So he calls it in, and we just call it a suspicious incident. And we jump out of the car. And of course, you look down below expecting to see somebody on the railroad tracks. There's nobody down there. So we go down to a little embankment. We're looking underneath it. We don't see anybody anywhere. There's nobody. There is nobody anywhere. But I clearly saw what looked like a person jump off this bridge. And it was,
really?
But instead of being in color, it was like black and white.
Wow.
And I finally we got back on the radio. We go, there's nothing to it, unfounded, and we're out of here. And I didn't even do a report on it.
Okay.
And there was no fancy conclusion to it. It wasn't like we found out somebody had died 2 years ago or anything. It was just one of those things.
That night when I tried to go to sleep.
Right. One of those things you see that you just can't explain.
Right.
So fast forward, and I'm in Citrus County as a detective before I made any rank. And they had some, this is around the time the goth movement was real big. Gothic movement.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of like little, they found like cats hanging in an old barn and stuff like that. So it's pentagram, satanic stuff. So
how come the PETA people don't bother the witches that hang cats? Exactly. How come there's no outroar there?
So they asked me would you look into this? So you work in crimes against children. That's icky stuff. Why don't you look at this? This is icky too. So
okay.
I go out there and I take a look. I go, it's satanic stuff. So I get on the internet, which is fairly new at the time, and I find this place called something about the Silver Moon, but it's based out of Homosassa.
Big Bob's House of Satan.
Yeah, no, not quite, but it was a Wicca movement.
I got it.
So I go talk to this lady who's a Wicca person. I go, look, this is what I got. I'm going to plead ignorance. I really don't know what I got going on here. Can you help me out with this?
Sure.
So she meets me over at this barn. And she looks at it and she goes, well, what you got here is you got some satanic stuff going on, which is different than the Wicca movement.
Mm-hmm.
She says,
which is true.
Yeah. And she kind of outlined a lot of the graffiti I saw. And I said, okay. She said, actually, I think this is coming probably from the internet and the Church of Anton LaVey.
Okay.
That these people are followers of that and they're just trying to please Satan.
Right. And for those of you who don't know, Anton LaVey was the high priest of the Church of Satan in San Francisco.
Right. Okay. So I started working some of those types of cases. None of it really panned out to be anything that I could say was paranormal.
Okay.
All right. Except when I was in the patrol division, once again up in Citrus County, I got a call of a UFO.
Okay.
And I go to this guy's house. And this guy's visibly shaken, and I go, what can I do for you? And he says, well, first off, he says, I need to tell you what happened. He says, I'm driving home from work off on 488. He says, I'm just minding my own business in my truck, and next to me, all of a sudden, I see a silver ball next to my truck, about the size of a bowling ball, a little bit bigger, maybe a basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And it's keeping up with me. He says, and I'm wondering what this is, and I'm doing the speed limit, and I'm not thinking that it's a UFO, but I really don't know what this silver ball is traveling next to me. He says, the next thing I know is I look back in the passenger seat, and there's a guy sitting in the truck with me. He says, and he looks like a regular person, except like he looks like he's wearing a toupee. And he says, what are you doing here? And the guy says, just shut up and drive. He says, so I'm driving my truck, and I get to this little town of Dunellen, and he says, don't bother with the traffic lights, just drive right through them. The guy driving the truck says, look, I'm going to crash. The guy says, no, I control the traffic lights. And as he got to each light, he said the light turned green automatically because this guy was controlling the traffic lights, and he goes through the traffic lights. So I'm listening to the story very intently.
It's a real story.
It's a real story. Okay. So I said, well, where did you go from there? He said, well, we got to this area called Citrus Springs, and there's a lot of vacant lots in this area. It's kind of an undeveloped area that Deltona Corporation started to develop years ago. And he said, he directs me towards this big vacant field, which was a lot that had not been developed yet. And he says, when we got there, he says, I'm looking and I see these little things of smoke coming out of the ground with these faces on them. And I said, really? He says, yeah. He says, and those faces were saying, tell these people to quit dumping trash here. And the guy goes, okay. And then the alien next to him says, also tell them to get this body out of here. Body as in dead body. Now you got my attention. You have my undivided attention.
Sure, dead body.
The rest of it is very entertaining.
I do dead bodies.
Yes, very entertaining. The rest of it is, but this has now piqued my attention.
Right.
So I'm thinking, okay, the guy probably committed a homicide. He's probably got a body back here. This is just his mind working on it, and this is his way of telling me about it.
Yeah, it just got really interesting for me too. Go ahead.
So I drive around the lot, and he tells me what's the perimeter of it, and he actually takes me out there to this area.
Okay.
And of course, there's no things of smoke anywhere, anything like that I see. But I'm listening to his story, and I said, "What happens then?" He said, "Well, then all of a sudden the guy's just gone." He says, "So I go home." He says, and I call you guys. He said, "Oh, by the way, I saw a guy mowing the grass, and I stopped and I said, hey, did you see the guy in the truck with me?" He says, the guy mowing the grass says, "No, I didn't see nothing." He says, "Well, there was a guy in the truck with me. Did you just see him?" And he says, "No, I didn't see anything." So fine. So at this point, I find the guy who was mowing the grass, and he sure enough says, "I didn't see anything."
Okay.
So I get hold of my criminal investigations division. I said, "Look, can we get a cadaver dog out here?
Okay.
Maybe tomorrow. Not urgent, but next day or so, just to maybe do some training out here, see what you find."
Cadaver dog.
And to make a long story short, they didn't find any bodies out there, but there was a bunch of trash and stuff out there. So I'm thinking, okay, well, the guy's nuts. No problem. I got this.
Okay. But
I do a report on it.
Okay.
In case a body ever does show up.
Sure.
I got a report on it. And it's about a month or so later, and I'm thinking, I ought to go by this guy's house and see how he's doing.
Okay.
So I drive by his house, do a little follow-up, and his wife says, he's never been the same since that incident.
Really?
He doesn't drink. He doesn't do any drugs. In fact, we're separated now. And I really have no idea where he's at. And I said, "Do you think he suffers from some sort of mental illness?" She says, "No. I think he saw exactly what he told you. But he can't get it. He can't validate it.
Yeah.
And it's driving him crazy."
Wow.
So about a year later, I go by this house again, and they're all gone. Everybody's gone that lived in the house, and I never found out what happened to the guy after that.
Man, that's great. I love those mysterious kind of stories. Okay, well, hey, that was Dave Wiley, and we're here sharing their trip to Route 66. We're down to our last 5 minutes, so we gotta get from Missouri down to the Santa Monica.
Yeah, and that's not a problem. I mean,
what was the most fun thing you did there? What was like, wow, that was really a colossal day. That was a defining Route 66 moment.
Spending the day with Debra.
Oh, listen to you.
He's so sweet.
Boyfriend, somebody wants spaghetti on Sunday.
I don't cook, he does.
Oh, well, and then he'll probably have it. Now, was there aside from romantic things, what really was like the most noticeable, or did anything really blow you away, or
The West.
The West, yeah.
When we got to what was the name of that town that had Joplin? That had that old hotel that all the Western stars had stayed at.
Gallup, New Mexico.
Gallup, New Mexico.
Okay, I've been
all
there.
the scenery is right out of a black and white Western.
Yeah.
In fact, they filmed a lot of them there.
Yeah,
and they all stayed at this one particular hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And that
The
was
El
called
Rancho.
El Rancho. And they had all their pictures in it.
Yeah, I saw those on your Travelogue, that El Rancho. Yeah.
And it was really cool.
Yeah. So, okay. So you're down into New Mexico now, and the next thing we're going to...
Oh, wait, we got cursed.
Oh, what happened?
Oh, we stopped to see this
Oh, you
giant
like that?
red rock. And while we're exploring it, out of nowhere, this Indian lady shows up. And she starts yelling at us, and we're on sacred ground.
Oh, boy.
And we need to get out of here. And we're violating their sacred laws.
Oh, boy.
And after that, a crow started following us for hundreds of miles.
Whoa.
Yes.
Really?
And when we got
Big
to
crow.
Big Crow, and when we got to what crater was it? The crater, Meteor Crater. The crow was under our van, and right after the crow left, we developed a water pump leak. And when we got to the Grand Canyon, it was so bad, and the crow was still there, by the way, we had to have it repaired. Right? And then when we got to the Grand Canyon, the same crow was hanging out on the edge of the Grand Canyon, and we don't like heights ever since the tower there at
Sure, St.
Murburg.
Louis, yeah.
We're thinking the crow's going to push us off the Grand
Create a big
Canyon.
wind and blow us off.
Wow. Wow, that's really something.
But yeah, we made it all the way to Santa Monica Pier.
Santa Monica Pier.
We saw the big fires in California. The fires that were
Oh,
going on.
yeah, yeah.
Shut down the interstate. Big
Man.
traffic jams. Let me tell you something. Out of all the places we visited,
Yeah.
no place is better than Clearwater, Dunedin.
Wow, and that was about what I was going to ask you. This really is a lovely little section of the world, and I grew up here. We grew up here.
Yes, we did.
You were born in Meese Hospital, weren't you?
No, Rockford, Illinois.
Rockford. Oh, okay. Oh, look at that. How about that? Debbie, no?
Indiana.
Indiana. Okay. All right.
That's where Prince Charles spent his honeymoon, by the way.
In Rockford, Indiana.
No, Indiana.
In Prince Charles.
Seriously?
Yeah. Okay.
It was time for a bad joke. So.
Every time we went to a state, we played a song.
Indiana, I get it now.
Yeah.
I'm well slow to light on that one. Well, I'm thinking James Garner. What are you doing? But anyway. Well, Debbie, Dave, thank you so much for. So, if somebody said, "Hey, I want to do that Route 66 trip," is it worth it?
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Put it on your bucket list.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do it somehow. I don't know. Maybe I'll walk. And one day I just started walking.
Do it with Alan.
Oh yeah, the Sparkly Owl adventure, dude. Yeah. We need a film crew for that. Michael, what you are speaking at an event?
Yes, UFO Mega Congress, Mega Conference in Laughlin, Nevada, March 23rd to 29. My topic will be States of Spirituality and Contact.
Wow. Well, that's beautiful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the imho.love show. It's in my humble opinion, and you just heard an whole hour of it. Thank you so much for watching on Facebook or YouTube and listening on a variety of broadcast signals. And tell your friends, like the page. You feel free, if you're my Facebook buddy, feel free to share this and do whatever you need.
Go to YouTube, imho.love, subscribe, like, listen, and tell your friends.
Do what Michael said, because he knows it better than me. Vaughn, thank you. Have a great week, buddy. Thanks for everybody listening. imho.love. We'll be back next week, Wednesday at 7:30.
No body, huh?
Oh, I thought there was going to be a body.
I thought for sure that it was going to go somewhere. That's why I invested some time and effort in it. Once he said about, get the body out of here, but no body.
Wow. That could have meant a number of things, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But in my world, it only meant one thing.
Right, I got you, yeah. Hey, Facebook, thanks everybody for listening and watching, and we love you. And we'll see you again next week. How do I turn this off? There it is. Finish.